Hey guys, so today is Halloween 2021 and not a very good day. I had some errands to run, and when I was out I got set up again, and I expect this now, and I should have known better. And you know, knowing what you have to do, knowing what you need to do is one thing. Being able to do it is a whole other, and I failed miserably. I knew that I needed to ignore it. Just keep my glasses on, my headphones on, drown everything out. I failed. I failed again, and they set me up again, right? They have, they do the most massive, major provocations, either by cameras or when there's, someone there, or when a cop is just around the corner, so that when I do react, and we're not even talking physically violently here, which when I just do react, when I say something or I look angry, again, I'm caught looking angry. And well, it happened again. So from the moment I walked out, they had people follow me again. Eastern European, usually male, but at the end there was a they changed it up a bit. We'll get there. So what they did today is they had people copy me, mimic me. Really, they, if I would do something, they would have someone do the same thing. Okay, and this time they weren't dressed like me. Sometimes they'll dress like me. No, this time it just different random people. And I would do something and they would copy me. Right? If I would make a, if I would sneeze, they would sneeze. If I would drop something, they would drop something. If I would, they were having people copy me just to show me that they're still there. They're still fucking with me. So I was already irritated, and, I didn't say anything for the longest time. I tried to ignore it, but ignoring it isn't enough. I need to totally block it out. I just need to not pay attention at all, not see it and not hear it, because if I see it and I hear it and I ignore it, the pressure is just going to build and build and build. And when I finally respond, it's going to be loud. And that's what happened. So this went on the entire time that I was out, and it culminated maybe, a few yards from where I live, where, so there's this guy across the street, and he stood there, and he was, he was looking at me. He was kind of smirking a little bit, and he tapped his nose, and he smirked again, and he held his camera up to me, and just to show me, that they're there, just to make me feel watched. And he knew what he was doing. I crossed the street, and he whispered something under his breath, and I didn't hear what he said, but I heard him whisper. I just didn't hear what the words were. I couldn't make out the words. And I told him to fuck off. I said, fuck, leave people the fuck alone, you piece of... I said some nasty things. Just as I had said that, a woman walks by, and she's the woman who lives in the building, so she heard that. She heard it. So now there's more proof that I'm the bad guy, because... it didn't look like he was doing anything wrong. He was tapping his nose. He was grinning. Well, what's wrong with that, right? They don't understand that what these gestures are meant for. It's meant to show us, for everybody, once in a while someone's going to rub their nose or do something. But if people just do that over and over again, different people, the same gesture, it's, it can no longer be considered a coincidence, right? Same thing, when they copy your mannerisms over and over again. Maybe occasionally there's someone who drops something right after you drop something, or trips right after you trip. And I am clumsy, so that happens too. Or rubs their eyebrows right after you rub your eyebrows. Because I haven't gotten a migraine in a while. I used to get really bad migraines. Now it's weird. Like, it'll be the start of a migraine with the eye, the pressure behind the eyes, and the kind of dizziness and nausea, but the actual migraine doesn't come usually. But I will rub my temples, and so I'll do that, and then they'll do that. And they'll still, whisper things under their breath sometimes that I actually can make out, and it'll be in reference to something I said or did in private, showing me that they're watching me in private. Okay, so, by the time I got to this guy, I was gone. And, the woman, I did shout at him, and the woman heard me. And again, I look like the one who flipped out over nothing. And again, this is going to be more proof that I'm the bad guy, right? That I'm losing it, that I'm worse, that I'm potentially violent. Okay, I knew they had set me up, and I walked on, and a little, a little bit down, another woman passed, and she was certainly Eastern European, okay, and she grinned, that she looked me right in the eye and grinned and smirked and was kind of snickering. And I called her something. I called her a Russian this and that, and I shouldn't have. I should not have gone. I shouldn't have gone to that extreme. Not that I care about insulting some filthy perpetrator who's doing this to people. It's just I don't want to become that bigot. That I've always stood up against bigotry. I don't want to become that now. But it was so upsetting that and the thing is, she was far enough away where she wouldn't have heard what I said to the guy, but she knew I had just been set up, because she knew that the other woman who lives in the building was right there and heard me say it. So, and to her, it wouldn't have looked like the guy did anything at all. So she knew I had, so the woman, the younger woman, the Eastern European, she knew that I had just been set up. She knew that she wasn't, actually trying to catch a real bad guy. She was trying to set someone up to look like the bad guy, right? And that just, it pissed me off so much. I cursed at her, and I called her a Russian this and that, and I didn't feel bad for hurting her feelings, because she's involved in this sick program. I mean, they're torturing people, right? They're torturing people. They're stalking, they're hunting, they're trying to drive people to a complete mental breakdown. They're trying to destroy people on every level, body, mind, and soul, right? They're slandering people and demonizing them, they're running them out of society. They are destroying, they're murdering, they're raping. I don't feel bad for hurting the feelings of someone who's involved in that. But I did feel bad for making a racial comment like that. It was really negative toward Russians, and I keep saying I don't want to be that, and I'm losing it. I'm really losing my damn mind. And I think that's partly what they want. For those of us who were activists, who were human rights activists, I think they want us to do a total flip on that. For those of us who actually gave a damn, they just want us to stop giving a damn. That's the only way these psychopaths will ever be able to get away with their twisted agenda against humanity, is if we no longer give a damn. And that's why I say, even though I did not resort to physical violence, I kind of gave them what they wanted anyway. Because it was an ugly, ugly comment. And she just kept snickering, because she knew it didn't matter. It was already too late. They had already set me up. They had already entrapped me. And then, I just thinking about it, I got even angrier, because, and I guess this is kind of unfair. I guess we should not expect better behavior from women than from men. We shouldn't. It's both women and men. They're perpetrators and they're targets, right? Same with all races. There are Russian targets too. It's not like they're all perpetrators. So we shouldn't profile. But it just, and I'm trying to analyze myself here. Why did it make me so much angrier than, when a guy does it? And that's not fair. I know it's not fair. I don't want to be one of those fucking hypocritical pieces of shit. But it did. And, and I guess I'm just, I'm vlogging to just, this is how it is. This is how this type of warfare affects people. And I'm not going to lie about it. I'm not going to pretend that I'm a fucking angel. I want it understood how this affects people. And I need to analyze myself too. Why? We all need to. What am I thinking? Is it reasonable? What am I feeling? Is this reasonable, right? Is it rational? Is it fair? Might it be hypocritical? If I get angry to a certain extent when one person does something, why shouldn't I feel the same amount of anger when another person does it, right? It's, and I was analyzing that, and I think it just came down to the I came to the conclusion that it hurt more because I guess we kind of sometimes think of women as the protectors, like they should protect their kids and stuff, right? Obviously, I'm not her kid, but protect the weaker, right? You don't fucking join in with. None of this is gonna sound good. None of this is gonna sound good. I guess I don't like the fact that some women help rapists rape, that some women help abusers abuse, and sometimes they're abused. They can't get out of it, right? It's just they're accomplices because they can't do anything else. But other times they can get out of it. They don't have to do that. But they help abusers abuse anyway, and it just I guess it just hurts more. And it shouldn't. It shouldn't. It's not fair. That's not fair at all. Because in reality, the majority of people following me around are really Eastern European males, right? The worst of the provocations are coming from them. Some of the nastiest comments came from them, right? Some of the comments that were direct references to something I said or did, literally in the bathroom, came from them. It just, to the point where I want to rip out of my skin, thinking that those vile pieces of shit are watching, even in the most private spaces. I mean, they are the epitome of abusers, but I'm rambling now, and this is not going to sound good. Nothing is. I'm sorry. It's not fair. It's not fair. I don't want to be unfair. And something that I hate the most, I cannot stand in people, is when they cannot self-analyze. If they're bigoted, if they're biased, if they're hypocritical, if they have double standards, unfair and unreasonable double standards, right? If they can't understand their own psychology, let alone anyone else's, I fucking can't stand it. And I don't want to become that. And I'm trying to analyze why I think the way I think, and why I get angrier in some situations than in others. And if I'm being a hypocrite, I want to point that out. And today I was a hypocrite. I'm sorry. I guess, isn't there something, I'm not really up to date on and like the history of Halloween, but isn't it like it was like a pagan holiday called Samhain or Samhain or something like that. And I don't know, I could be wrong, but isn't it like supposedly, New Year starts on November 1st? I don't know, I could be wrong. If that's the case, I guess my wish for the next year is that those of us who are being targeted, the men, the women, Jew, Gentile alike, yes, that includes Russian targets. You guys, I know you're being targeted too. It's for us to be freed from this nightmare, for the perpetrators to be outed, for the program to be outed, and for us to be freed and released from this, and to be, I won't say paid back in full, because no one, amends can never be made for this. What they've taken from us, in many ways, we can never get back. Targets have been physically assaulted. Some have been raped, right? Some have already been killed. Either they've been driven to suicide, or they've been slandered so much that someone else who believed the lies killed them, or they've been run out of society and left to deal, alone, just left to the elements. And those of us who are still here, some will be physically scarred for the rest of their lives. Most will be psychologically and emotionally scarred for the rest of their lives. There's no way this can really be made up for, but I hope that on some level, justice is served. I hope that the perpetrators, and I'm going to do what's hard here, and I'm going to pray for them to wake up, I guess I'm going to use the word repent, to consider what they're doing, to wake up and realize the damage that they're doing, the harm that they're doing, and to actually be able to care. That's what I hope for them. And for those who decide to turn around and stop doing this, and instead to help the targets, I wish for protection for them too, because they're going to need it. But for the rest, for those who continue to hunt, to stalk, to terrorize, to physically harm, to psychologically harm, to emotionally and spiritually destroy targeted individuals, right? For those who continue to engage in this, I wish for a quick karmic payback for them. I don't think there's any way that they could ever really suffer the way we are, because they already know what's going on, right? They for most targets, we were being hunted and stalked and terrorized long before we ever heard of this type of warfare. We had no clue what was going on, and that's part of what makes this so horrific. You don't know what's happening to you. I wish for payback, for punitive, for punishment for the perpetrators of this. Corporal, maybe capital, depending on how involved they were in this, how much they knew, and how much damage they did, knowing that they were doing that much damage. I guess I'm putting out a prayer to the universe. Let it be. Help us. It's time for this nightmare to end. Help those of us who are being targeted. Stop those who are doing the targeting. Let justice be served finally. So be it. And happy Halloween, y'all.